We are working with a think tank called RIA, Research ICT Africa, that's based in Cape Town. And we're also working with the Norwegian think tank, NUPI. So the four of us together, we are in this consortium. So, as we've been talking, as we know, cybersecurity has been around. There's lots and lots of research on cybersecurity and lots of work on cybersecurity. However, most of the work on cybersecurity is done in the global north. It's done from the global north perspective. And I guess you know and you'd appreciate that cybersecurity and security is context specific. So we felt and we believe that there's need to have cybersecurity research from the perspective of Africa. So that's how our center began. So what we do research on cybersecurity in Africa. But our main job, if I can go to the next slide, our main job is to, we do assess cybersecurity capacity for countries in Africa, or for countries. So we go around countries by their invitation, and we do an assessment on their maturity on cybersecurity. So when we began, we thought we'd be focusing on Southern Africa, but we've been doing this work across. We've been doing North Africa and even West Africa. So I think because we were thinking of changing the name to be more of Africa than Southern Africa. If I can go to the next slide. So the instrument we use is called a CMM. So it's a framework. If I can go to the next slide. Yeah, it's a framework on 5 dimensions, right? So what we do is that we assess cybersecurity along 5 dimensions, right? So dimension 1 looks at does a country have policies and regulations on cybersecurity? So we're going to a country and we'll check the policies and whatever around cybersecurity. Number 2 is about culture and society. So we check, I think what we've been talking about today and yesterday. Are people aware about cybersecurity? Are people conscious about cybersecurity? Are civil servants and the private sector, what do they think about cybersecurity? So we assess that. And number 3 is about education and awareness. So do the universities have courses on cybersecurity? And so on and so forth. So there are 5 dimensions. Number 4 is about regulations. So we're checking whether there are laws in place. So just a side note, I don't know whether I can say this. Malawi has had this assessment done by other people twice. I think 2016 and in 2019. However, the reports are somewhere there. So just a side note, I don't know whether I'm allowed to talk about that. But so that's what we do at C3SA. We assess countries. We did in 2021. We did a study looking at the maturity of countries in the SADC region. So we did a regional assessment. So we do have that report. If you want to get a copy, I can send you a report on that. And from next year, we're embarking on a project working with Wood and EPAD, and we're assessing the maturity for 45 countries in Africa. So it's we're excited about that and see how that goes. So what am I talking about today? So I think that's enough of the commercial. Now let's come back to what I'm talking about. So what we're talking about in this session, we're talking about development, national development, human development. We're talking about emerging technologies, and we're talking about cybersecurity. And we are claiming that there is some connection somewhere. We need cybersecurity to get developed, and we need emerging technologies. If you can go to the next slide. So I think that's what I'm talking about, that there is a connection between those three points. So I'm hoping that by the end of my presentation, and by the end of the panel discussion, would have this kind of picture somewhat clarified in our minds. So, okay, I think the title of the slide is conclusions, and yes, it's conclusions. So, what I'm going to do is kind of to give you my conclusion before I give you my presentation. So, just in case maybe you fall asleep during my presentation, or you get distracted, so just know that at the end of this presentation, that will be our conclusion. If I can get to the next slide. I think one before. Let's go back. Yes, that's part of the conclusion. So part of the conclusions of my presentation is that emerging technologies are here and they're here to stay. We've got no choice. We can't wish them away. They are here. So that we have to accept and to live with that. And then again, we have to know that as we are having emerging technologies, there will be new risks which will emerge. A bit new. I mean, there will be the old ones, but there will be some new. Sorry for the typo there. Technology, emerging technologies, what they will do, maybe that's my biggest concern, is that they are going to exaggerate, to expand the inequalities. So if there's the biggest risk we should avoid is creating inequalities in society. So what we should be working towards is equality. So we don't want somebody in Zunje to be left behind. So I want somebody, I don't want the gap between somebody in Zunje and somebody in area 43 to get bigger. We're trying to minimize that. But if unchecked, emerging technology are going to make that gap wider. So we should avoid that. And another point I'm going to conclude with at the end, in that actually, cybersecurity and security is nothing about technology. So we are here, we're talking about, let's have our passwords and this. We are technocentric. We are thinking technology. It's not about technology, it's about people. It's about context, it's about culture. So we should have this social, techno kind of mindset when you're thinking about cybersecurity. So don't get your mind trapped into thinking about technology. Often it's not about technology. Often it's about people and something else. And of course, nobody should be left behind. So that's my conclusions. You can go to the next slide. So now let me talk about cybersecurity. So we have talked about this yesterday, this morning. So I'll not talk much other than to say, there could be 1,000 definitions of what cybersecurity is. But essentially, we are saying they are digital assets and other assets which are at risk of being attacked through the cyberspace, right? So people could attack individuals, infrastructure, organizations, governments through the cyberspace, and that's the threat we're talking about. So cybersecurity is about looking at the assets which we have, looking at the threats which are on those assets, and looking at the vulnerabilities, assessing those things, and then designing solutions which protects them. If I can get to the next slide. All right. So in essence, cybersecurity is about protecting our computer network. And here when I'm talking about network, I'm using the word in a loose way. So I'm including most of phone in the hands of somebody in Kolomoti. So that's what I'm talking about. So that must be secured. And we're talking about people, systems, data, people. Maybe I'm talking about the chief information officer at the bank, but again, I'm talking about a lady selling mangoes at Kolomoti. Maybe they don't even have a phone. but they have access to their phone through their son, through somebody else. They're still vulnerable. It's our job to make sure that everybody is safe. So that's what cybersecurity is about. So I think the other terms, which maybe I just put them on the slide: cyberspace, that's the everything. Cybercrime, I think we've seen that. Cyber attack is the actual action of bring an attack on a cyber technology. If you can go to the next slide. So I think that's cybersecurity 101 or security 101. So if you're teaching information security, that would be the first slide you show your students, I presume. So security is about preventing. So we have to prevent an attack from happening. Big thing. So when we're talking about what are the threats, we have to prevent them from happening. But they'll still happen anyway. When they happen, you have to detect that have been attacked. So if somebody is stealing, we have to know that they have been an attack. When we detect, we have to be able to respond. And when we respond, we have to restore so that we are back to normal. Remember the immigration, the passport issue? That's basically what we're talking about. We could have prevented it. Maybe it still happened. When did we know that it happened? So we have to know as soon as possible that there's an attack, and then we have to respond. So I think when we're talking about security and risks, I think we have to have this image somewhere in our minds. I think we have to keep that. If I can go to the next slide. So in 30 seconds, there are a number of attacks which can happen. Okay, I think Rachel Sibandi talked about the attacks, so I'll not talk about them in detail. But I think we've been talking about phishing. I think the guy from Standard Bank talked about phishing in detail. So I'll talk about phishing again because I want to use it later on in my later slides. Online scams, right? So people will try to get money from you. People try to get your details and go into your bank account and get your money. People try to enter the system for the investor and change their grades. So all those kind of things happen. Extortion. So now the big thing is sextortion, right? Where somebody will take a photo of you showing your private parts, or you having a nice time with somebody, and then they say, I've got a photo of you having sex with somebody. Should I release it? If you don't want to release it, do you want to pay some money? So this is big thing, right? So all these are cyber threats and cyber crimes. But most important, I think, let me just talk about phishing, just to repeat what has been said. So phishing is when, if I can get the next two slides, if I can get the next slide. Okay, but phishing is where somebody will send you an email, for example, and to say, no, your bank account has been hacked. And for you to reverse that thing, maybe log in, here are the login details. But actually what they're giving you is a fake website. So by actually trying to log in, you are revealing your details. Therefore, they will actually log in and take your money. Right? So they will try, same thing. If I say, oh, you are in an accident and they need blood, can you send money? That's kind of phishing attacks. If I can go to the next slide. Okay, you can go further. Okay, so I think other common ones are ransomware. So the immigration case was a ransomware, if the version was true. When somebody attacks your system, maybe they give you denial of service, and they say for you to have your system back, give us so much money. So that's a ransomware. So those kind of things happen. If we can go to the next slide. So I think these are the examples of phishing emails. They're getting better. They're getting better. They're crafting them better. that you may not know that it's a fake email. And then you log in and your money is gone. Right? I think you can get a phone call. So actually, I think if a phishing is through an SMS, it's called a smishing. So there are different variations of the name for phishing, but essentially, it's the same thing. I wish I was teaching. I could have said, at this point, do you have any questions? But, I'm missing being in a classroom. But anyway, let's go to the next slide. So I think this slide, you can almost ignore it. The point I want to say is, it's kind of, often people say, is there cybercrime in Africa? Things like, who bother about Malawi? We kind of feel like we are too small. But I'm saying that we are not too small to be a target. Nobody is too small to be a target. So cybercrime in Africa is big, and it's big money. So we are vulnerable. We are obliged to find solutions to cybercrime. I think even at people, like at human level, nobody is too insignificant. Even the grandmother sitting somewhere in Zunje is not insignificant for cybercrime. So we have to think. I mean, we are thinking of emerging technologies affecting cybercrime. They will affect that grandmother in Zunje who's not using a phone. AI is going to create a scenario where that woman in Zunje will be a victim. So we here are under obligation to find solutions to protect that lady before she's attacked, to prevent, detect, respond, so that that lady is safe. Yes, if I can go to the next. So still on cybersecurity before I go to emerging technologies. So we are busy with firewalls protecting our premises. But the biggest threat in cybersecurity is the insider threat. So often the threat which comes from within the organization. So insider threat talks about a threat to cybersecurity which comes from people within your organization. So you can be busy protecting the firewalls, you can lock the door so that people don't come in, but we are here already. And the human being is often the weakest link in your cybersecurity landscape. So when you're thinking about cybersecurity, maybe the biggest part is thinking about the insider threats. How do you prevent the risks or the attacks emanating from inside? So the insider threats could be intentional, could be malicious, right? So if I was working for FDH Bank and I was fired, I'm angry. I can log in and transfer money to somebody. I can cause damage to the system, maybe to damage their reputation, because I'm angry with my employer. Could be malicious. Could be unintentional. I'm just ignorant, right? So therefore, I'm working for a bank or from Airtel. I open my laptop to work on whatever account. I leave it open there. I go to the bathroom. The guy next comes and then changes something. Or I unintentionally take a flash drive from the streets. Somebody is giving out presents or flash drives. I put it on my laptop, and then before you know it, all the customer data is out. I wasn't intending to cause harm to my institution, but I caused harm anyway. So insider threat is a big thing. So when you're thinking emerging technologies, when you're thinking about security in general, I think we should give a big, like in the morning we're talking about the government employees using their Gmail accounts. That's part of insider threat. Sorry, I'm coughing badly. We can go to the next slide. So I think I was just sort of giving figures here about how big insider threat is. So it's not a small thing. So we have to, for organizations, we have to think about insider, how we can prevent insider. So that's globally. So it's not a Malawi problem. It's a global problem. It's a global phenomena on insider threats. Yes, if I can move to. I think I can ignore this one for for now. So almost jumping to a different topic, but still under cybersecurity. So one of the key things about cybersecurity, especially for countries, is the phenomenon of critical infrastructure. Right. So critical infrastructure infrastructures are things we need to operate as a country. If that was attacked, our lives would be compromised. I'll give an example. Water board is a critical infrastructure. If water board was poisoned or didn't work and there's no water any longer, there will be a crisis. The country will come to a standstill. We need water board to be functioning all the time. The airport is a critical infrastructure. MPC, MDF, of course, is a critical infrastructure. So, as part of cybersecurity, as part of our framework, I guess as part of security, is that a country must identify the critical infrastructure. So you must know, as a country, these are our critical infrastructure. And they could differ from country to country. And once you've identified them, you should identify the vulnerabilities of those infrastructures and how to keep them safe from cyber attacks. I think from from the 16 SADC countries, I think only 9 countries have identified their critical infrastructures. Others haven't even started identifying their critical infrastructure. I mean, not even talking about identifying how they're going to keep them safe. So just bear that in mind as we go along. Okay, let me take a sip of water. Can get to the next slide. So I think that's on the same topic. Talking about cybersecurity for a country, we have to think of so the banks. I think like it's this year. I think the Central Bank of Lesotho had an attack, and nothing could work in the country. It couldn't do money movement between banks, so, and the country was crippled. Our immigration was off for days. That was critical infrastructure, and we felt it. I mean, in different ways. Okay, so we can move on to the next slide. So what I've done so far, I've given you an overview around cybersecurity, what it is, and the threats which may arise from there. I've talked about insider threats, and I've talked about critical infrastructure as potential things to be. So now I'll talk about emerging technologies. So that's kind of that's a tricky one. I was looking for a definition, and I couldn't find a clear definition. But I mean, if you imagine, technology kind of goes through a life cycle, right? It begins as a new technology. It gets a bit popular, eventually it becomes norm to use. So as you're going through that cycle, the emerging technology is almost the second or third phase on the technology life cycle. So these are new technologies. Maybe they haven't been tested on fully by the users. So I think that will be a safe definition which you can work with. If you go to the next slide. So if you look at many people check trends, I've got a list of emerging technology every year. For example, Forbes had those, 2022. Artificial intelligence everywhere, everything as a service, dedication, transparency, sustainable. Got next slide. I think we've, oh no. So these are just some examples. I think it was from Keynes, right? Yeah, this is McKinsey. So what you see is that actually same things. AI is mentioned. They're talking about programming of the future. So in the future, so maybe to comfort some of you people, in the future, programs will be writing themselves, most programs. So most programmers will be fired because the computer will be able to write their own program. I mean, some of us will still be around, but some of you, I don't know, yeah, there'll be a few people, but others. So there'll be that trend, right? AI will be a big thing. Industrialization is a big thing. 5G, IoT, big things. So these are the trends which are coming. Get to next, bio-revolution. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is another list. It's kind of almost the same things, which are 2023, IoT, metaverse, edge computing, quantum computing, machine learning. So these are the trends which are current. If I can go to the next slide. So this is kind of somebody looking until 2050. So things are still changing. More and more, programming, I mean, AI is becoming a big thing. IoT is becoming a big thing. So, there's no stopping. Things are changing. Things are continuously changing. And we have to be aware of that. We have to be ready for that. So, there's no wishing it away. Things are happening, and things are happening fast. So, I mean, that's basically the aim of this slide. Okay, so next slide. So what I'm going to do now is to go through 3 examples from those lists of emerging technologies, and then maybe reflect on potential threats. Okay, so I think we'll be talking about AI. You can go to the next slide. So to repeat, AI, artificial intelligence, is the attempt, underlying attempt, is the attempt to use machines, to use computers, to try to reason as a human being. So that's what it is. It's trying to mimic human thinking. So trying to give machines to mimic human thinking. That's what it is. Next slide. So how does AI work? AI works on trained data. So I'm careful, I have to choose my words because there's a Professor Zimba around in the room, so he may say, you know what we're saying. But basically, it works on trained data. So it takes existing cases and learn a pattern, and then tries to replicate that pattern in the future. So we could try to say, okay, we are back. In the past, we have got these customers. They took a loan. These guys paid back. These guys didn't pay back. What's a pattern here? Or people like these don't pay back their loans. People like that will pay back their loan. Therefore, in the future, if you give it data, it says, oh, this new customer looks like who in the past examples? Oh, like that guy. Therefore, you don't pay back his loan, deny them loan. The critical thing here, AI works on trained data. It depends on you. It depends on existing data. So I think we have to keep that in mind. That's an important aspect of AI. Let's go to the next slide. So I think I will skip this because it was covered in detail, but basically AI is faster than we are. So it's easier to scan through our network, to detect if there's danger in the network, and to give us alerts if they are there. It can detect maybe, oh, this email is fake. Put it aside. So it can help us to detect, even to prevent attacks. It's more efficient than a human being can. It's faster than a human being. Next slide. But AI can also create threats in the same way, faster than we can. It can guess your password faster than a human being could, therefore creating danger to people attacking your network. It can create, and they're biased. So I'll come back to that point. And they're not transparent. We don't know what they're looking for sometimes. We buy an AI from Microsoft. What is it doing? It's not transparent. We're using this thing. We don't know what they're doing. So they're not that wonderful in some time. But let me move to the next slide. So if I was teaching, I could have said, let's pause here. But the point is, and I must emphasize this, AI is neither intelligent nor artificial. It's not intelligent, one. Two, it's not artificial. So stop the excitement. Let's get real. It's not. And that's where the problem of AI and technology is beginning. It's trained on data. The bias in the data will affect the way AI performs. Doesn't know what it's doing. It's just guessing. AI is guessing. It's trying to give you the best guess possible. So don't get the illusion that this machine is intelligent or it's artificial. It's not. Let's get to the next slide. So there have been lots and lots of discussions and accusations, rightly so, that AI is racist. True, in many cases. AI is sexist. We don't want those things in our lives. We've been working hard to avoid those things. So, like there was an example a few years ago where the Google AI had classified a black person as a gorilla or something. I think even recently, Facebook had classified. If you had to maybe check using AI to say, give me a picture of a beautiful woman, most likely it would be a woman from Zunje. It would be a human, it would be a lady from Europe. It would be a white person. These are biases. These are uncomfortable biases. We've been trying to avoid this in our lives, that AI does that. So I think it's not intelligent, and it's not. Why is it doing that? Training data. It's been trained on the other data. We don't have enough data which we're feeding from Africa. We haven't shown them our beautiful women, maybe. So I think back to, like Prof. Panj was talking about, there isn't much information from here. So that's creating a bias. And that's not comfortable. Let's go to the, let's give an example of generative AI as we are talking about this. So generative AI is AI which is interacting in natural language. So I could ask the question, I want raw cassava, what should I do? You can give me all the steps. I think in your area, maybe you should try this variety of cassava, you should do A, B, C, D. So it can generate, I can even ask it to say, can you compose a love song for my wife? And it will be there. And I'll be so impressed with my wife. I think, I didn't know that we are that creative. It can come in seconds. It can compose a song, a love song for my wife. So that's how it is. So that's it sounds wonderful. I know, say, what's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with a love song for my wife, I guess. But I think every academic here I'm looking at Prof. Kanjo and Prof. Zimba and Prof. Mula here. What we've been struggling with now is academic fraud. I mean, give a sort of an essay to a student, give an essay on this topic. They give an essay generated by AI. This guy will get a degree when they know nothing. AI has been doing essays. Even computer programs, I can ask an AI to give me an assignment for programming and you do that assignment for me. This guy is going to get a degree in programming and knows nothing about programming. That's fraud, I think. So I think that's a danger. Talking about phishing emails. AI, this can generate phishing emails which are way convincing that even a trained bank manager could fall for it. So there are dangers in generative AI. I'm not trying to be negative. I mean, we've been talking about positives in the morning, but I'm just trying to point you that it's not all rosy as we've been talking about. Another interesting phenomenon about AI is the concept of information bubbles. Sounds not too bad. So I think the example Rachel gave yesterday, if I go to YouTube and then I search for a song, I don't know, by an artist, I search for a song by Lulu, then I listen maybe to another Lulu song, maybe I search another song for Baristas Banda, then you think, oh, this guy likes this kind of music. Therefore, it begins giving me music which are like those music. Right? Doesn't sound a bad idea, but that's a bad idea. Could be a bad idea. What if there's some other wonderful music in different genre? Maybe amapiano music. It won't come to me. I will never know about these wonderful amapiano artists because I'm being put in a bubble. I'm kind of believing all there is Lulu, and Lucius Banda, and I don't know, who else? If you watch a movie on Netflix, it does the same thing. It classifies you, puts you in a bubble. So now to you, this is the world. Sounds not a bad idea even. What about opinions? Say COVID. If you believe that maybe the vaccine is a bad idea, you have been watching and reading about the anti-vaccine, all you'll be getting on Facebook will be the opinions which are against vaccine. You have been put in a bubble. So you never get other views. You'll be thinking, oh, everybody thinks vaccine is bad. You never get the other views. Politics. If I believe in political party A, soon all I'm getting is the views about that political party. I'll not get a contradicting view. Therefore, I'm trapped in thinking this party is the best party and they're going to win. And when they lose, I'll be saying, what happened? I thought they were winning. AI had put you in a bubble. So information bubble is a real thing. You are biased. It sets you, and therefore it affects our opinions. It affects our reaction to things. So these recommendations may sound innocent. They are not. If I can get to the next slide. I think earlier my colleague Patrick was talking about chatbots, right? So chatbots are AI technology which responds like a human. So like we can be there and be saying, what do you want? And then you give your answer, says, oh, do you want this or this? And then it kind of almost like a human being, but it's just a AI responding on the other side, right? So these are bots, chatbots. So there are social media bots, right? So I mean, almost I think what we call Zigoba, but could be a chatbot, could be an AI responding, not a human being. So an AI could have an account, could be posting opinions, could be engaging with you, trying to force you to believe that this is the best thing. So in America, it's a big thing. You can create millions of bots which go there on the internet, on Twitter, and they're posting and engaging and liking posts of some other political party or some product. And then you kind of think, I think I've been thinking this is a good thing, but everybody is there. But it's not humans, they're bots. And then you change your mind and you go in that direction. So, that's undemocratic. That's fraud. So these things will happen. We have to be aware of these things. We have to find ways of preventing these things from happening. I think if we can get to the... So now let me move on to the concept. I have to be wrapping up again. If we move to the concept of Internet of Things. So what's IoT? So far, in the past, not so far. In the past, Internet was about computers to a server talking to each other. Now, with IoT, we are moving beyond that, right? We have got other gadgets on the network. I could have my irrigation system on my farm as part of the internet, right? So now this can be guessing, today is warm, I should irrigate. It's a smart irrigation system. It's part of the network. I could have my car as part of the internet. Could be saying, I think by this time the guy is coming to the car, maybe have the temperature reduced because when he comes, you should find the car a bit in temperature. So we're having more things on the internet. Are the more things we are putting there, are they secure? No, they're not. Most of them are not secure. Most of them are vulnerable, putting the whole network, compromising the security of the whole network. I think let's go to the next slide. So for example, I could have a smart home as part of the Internet of Things, where maybe my coffee machine is smart, right? So it knows, or I think the guy's left his work now. He knows where I am, that now he's driving, is at the roundabout, he'll be home in 10 minutes. I should have the coffee ready. When he comes, the alarm is off already. I go into my house and the coffee is ready. Maybe it's even put on the table for me by a robot, I don't know. That's a smart home. Wonderful idea. But what if somebody hacks into my home? Because even my fridge could be saying, okay, now the milk is about to run out. Maybe we should order new milk. And the fridge can place an order on an online shop and the milk will be delivered at home. So if my system is hacked, somebody will find out my bank details, will find out my ID number, my passport number. Now they can hack into my bank and steal my money. Now they know that maybe I've got chronic illness and I'll be dying next year. I don't know. And then they can take other decisions against me. So the compromise, the risk is high. Let's go to the next slide. Smart city. Right? So smart city is where things in the city are connected. Right? So you can have your CCTV cameras, like the ones in Nimbi, maybe linked to the AI. So they can be guessing, I think we should go on these streets there seems to be a criminal there. But what if things are hacked? In South Africa, there's been a big issue with one of the companies, the private companies for security. So they had their cameras monitoring a suburb. Can I mention the name? No. Yeah, anyway, so they're monitoring the security in the area. And so it's kind of like with AI, they could say, I think that guy is a criminal, that guy is innocent. They could detect and inform the response team. And what was happening? It would pick black people in the suburb as criminals. It didn't pick white people walking in the suburb as criminals. That's an injury to dignity. That's a risk. That's not a good thing. So when you think of smart city or smart homes, what if things are hacked? And then maybe for fun I could say, okay, what if I hack into the IoT for water boards? And then maybe you just put too much chlorine in the water for fun. What if you hack into I think what happened in A18, when you took the sewer and put it in the water, Maybe you could have done that through somebody hacking the IoT devices on the thing. So, yeah, think about that. I think let's go to the next slide. I shouldn't get too excited. I think just I put this slide based on the conversation yesterday. We're talking about IoT in medicine. It's happening. So you could basically put intelligence or sensors almost in every gadget, in your drip for blood, and you could be sort of knowing, oh, now the blood is, maybe the drip is finished, you can call the nurse. There is that endoscopy. I mean, if you've had endoscopy, it's a boring thing. So they just put a pill, you swallow it, and then the camera goes in your stomach and it takes readings and sends to a computer. Right? So that's internet enabled. What if somebody hacked it while it's in my stomach? I don't know. I don't know what would happen. I mean, you could put gadgets to monitor your readings, your essential readings, and it can inform you, say, I think you're about to get sick. Maybe you can even call my doctor. That guy, I think he doesn't know, but I think he's about to collapse. So I think you can call an ambulance for him. The smart contact lens. So there are IoT in all these things. But what if they were hacked? What if somebody changed something while I was waiting? So I think these are things we should bear in mind. If we can move to the next slide. Okay, so what's at stake here? What's at stake here is, if these were hacked, if these were compromised, or they misbehaved, there could be financial loss. I could be denied a service. I could be, my dignity could be injured. I could be biased to be thinking this party is the best party, not the other party. So there are lots at stake if the emerging technologies will be hacked. So it's not just financial loss. There are other things we have to worry about. I think if you can get to the next slide. So I think, next slide. I think the big thing, maybe to wrap up this is, as I was saying, it's not often about the big solutions. It's about cyber hygiene. If people learn the basic things about security, about changing their passwords, not sharing their passwords, about changing the antivirus and so on, I think we could be okay. It could eliminate a big chunk of the things. And another thing, again, we have to have right policies in place. Not the policies we are just importing from Europe and bring them to Africa. We have to have policies where we are all engaged in coming up with the policies and coming up with the solutions. I think we can go 2 slides. I think, okay, I'll not talk about this because of time. Let's go to the next slide. So, my conclusion, which I had shared earlier on, basically, when you're thinking about emerging technology, when you're thinking about cybersecurity and risks, we should make sure nobody is left behind. We should all be safe together. We should make sure the grandmother selling tomatoes in Golomoti is safe. I think that's from the UN. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention.
Leaving no one behind. And it suggests that emerging technologies are here to stay and there is no going back. Probably a loud round of applause would do. Thank you so much for that. So as I did mention at the very beginning, we're going to move into another panel discussion. This panel discussion is going to be led by my moderator is gone. Oh, okay, he's here. He changed the places. Dr. Kingdom Kwabata is a lecturer in molecular genetics and biotechnology at the Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources. A hand for Dr. Kwabata.
Thank you. I think it was a very stimulating presentation by Professor Jugona, which will allows heated discussion, which will be facilitated by the panelists, beginning with Mrs. Pwambire Mwarwanda. She is the Technology Integration Coordinator at Mzuzu eHub and also a project manager. A hand for her. The second panelist is Eshad Karim, who is a data quality manager, FDH Bank. And finally, we have Mr. Webster Chidze Mbekeani, who is the Chief Executive Officer at NITEL Technologies. So these gentlemen are going to help us look at and the lady, sorry. They're going to help us unravel this particular discussion on what are the potential risks that could we expect from these emerging technologies. And I think many of the risks have already been highlighted by the professor, but we just want to get a more in-depth perspective, maybe from your personal experiences on these emerging technologies, though they seem to be very attractive, but at the same time I think they pose potential risks. So let me begin with you, Mr. Mbekeani, to give us your perspective based on the work that you do at NITEL, and what are the potential risks that you perceive we can face as a nation?
Thank you. Maybe not just based on the work that I do at NITEL, but on my experience in general in the IT and in the financial services sector, and more specifically digital financial services. What I am seeing is, as new technologies are coming onto the market, in this specific case, I'm referring to digital financial services, the ability to pay for services and goods using your either card or using your phone or using the internet. What I'm seeing is there are new risks that are actually opening up, and the institutions are playing catch up. The institutions that are using and championing these new technologies are actually playing catch up. So traditionally with money, physical money, we know you put it in a pocket and then you close that pocket with a button and you know that your money is safe. Or you take it in a box with a security guard and you take it to the bank and you deposit it in an account and you know that that money is safe. That's the traditional ways of doing things. And with the emerging technologies, suddenly money has gone digital, and 2 years down the line you realize, oops, people are being fooled over releasing their passwords. People are being fooled over different devices. We had a colleague here who scared us this morning that he could make a copy of everybody's card in here. Emerging technologies are bringing about new risks, and I think it's very, very important that our institutions are championing emerging technologies. They should not just look at the advantages alone, which is normally the case because you want to bear the benefits, but we should also look at the downside to it, because if our customers begin to resent the technologies, our uptake is going to go down, our usage is going to go down, and then we will not reap the benefits at the end of the day. But also it's bringing about new exclusions. So the Reserve Bank talks about financial inclusion, but the way that they talk about financial inclusion is in the traditional sense of banking. when we begin to introduce digital ways of banking, we saw an 18% penetration. I don't know what the cell phone penetration in Malawi, if we're going to do the same maths for USSD. But what you find is the massive exclusions because people don't trust new technologies. I remember when we had launched biometric identification as a means of helping people in the villages who can read and write, religion kicked in and said 666 has come. Why having to put your finger to be identified? You know, again, an exclusion was created because of that. So, yeah, emerging technologies are good. Currently, we are talking of on a forum that is introducing biofertilizer in the country as a way of taking care of the expensive chemical fertilizers that we're using. It's stored in capsules, and they say there are trillions of microbiomes in that capsule, and then you dilute and then you pour the water on a planting station. People are so skeptic about it. They're so scared. They say these microbiomes will end up in the maize, and then when you eat the maize, they'll grow in you and all that. So there are new risks that are coming with it, and I think most of them can actually be addressed by way of sensitization and making sure that there is proper onboarding. We introduce new technologies to people. So it's an issue of change management and how we manage that change as we introduce new technologies and emerging technologies into the market. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear from Mr. Karim from FDH Bank.
Thank you for having me here. I'll answer that question straight away on the risks. Two of them, expensive and loss of trust. That is all with my presentation. No, I'm joking. I'll give you some context. So maybe let's not just, or at least from my perspective, I don't want to preach caution and danger without giving at least some plausible way that we can actually still work with this technology. So if you allow me, let me just elaborate where we can actually start to ensure that even the safety parts, the guardrails of AI and all this stuff, we can still work with it, yeah? So look, I work with data all the time. That's my day-to-day basics at FDH. My expertise comes from digital transformation and data. All right, so I wear kind of two hats there. On digital transformation, which is what's on the M2063, as well as the Africa Union digital transformation agenda, it has one fundamental core to it, and that is data. So I'll give 3 points, and I'll circulate along these 3 points so that we can take away something. And this is the first one, data. Data is the fuel that, lubricates the entire machine. We spend a lot of time in it. If it's not clean, if it's not good, it is going to give us rubbish. All right, we know that. AI is only working now to the extent that it is because the data is there and it was looked after. In wherever you are, you need to make sure and ensure that your data is good. The second one is strategy. If you don't have a proper strategy to look at how you're going to bring this information, these technologies to you, you are going to fail. You are going to be in that 2 items that I mentioned in terms of risks. You're going to undertake something that is extremely expensive and you won't be able to sustain, as well as you're going to lose trust on whoever you're serving those services to. But the last one is value. Right, for everyone who's going to be taking care of this, who's going to be initiating themselves into these tools, if there's no value for you, then quite frankly, you're not going to get it done. So I think take care of number 2 instead, so that your number 3 can come out correctly. And this is not just for the private sector as well, yes? The value doesn't have to be us as organizations, it can also be the individuals that you're going to be taking care of. So with these 3, I think that the 3 areas of expensive undertaking and trust should be mitigated. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Marwanda from EHAB, Zuzu, give us your perspective of what are the potential risks of these emerging technologies from the point of view where you are working, maybe some experiences that you have had.
All right, thank you so much. So I think on the potential risk, much of it has already been covered, but maybe now I can talk about on what we've been doing for us to mitigate some of the risks. So the first thing, there's an issue around how do we have everyone in the future, because we're not going to introduce the emerging technologies because we would want to reduce this inequality gap that's already existing, and if we're going to bring in emerging technologies, there's a risk of it growing bigger. So how do you make it smaller as you're introducing the emerging technologies? So for us at Emerging Livelihoods, what we normally do, we do a lot of awareness campaigns around the communities as well as digital skills training. So we focus around making tailor-made for the target that we're working with, because we work with different individuals, from people that maybe have some kind of knowledge in computers, but also the people that have no knowledge at all in computers. So you have to have the right content for the people that you're working with, so that you don't leave anyone behind, but still you're still able to build the capacity of people that are at some kind of level. So for example, we do basic computer lessons, we do Python programming, but we've also incorporated talks around AI as well as cybersecurity, because if you're going to introduce people to technologies, we have the accountability for us to as well protect them and not just keep them exposed. The next thing is around, let's say, awareness campaigns, and which we look at it in different diagrams as well, whereby we try to categorize people depending on their knowledge as well as accessibility to information. So for example, in the past we've organized high-tech events such as a TikTok Partner Forum, whereby we bring in ecosystem players because we can't work alone. And I think it's been a topic that we've talked about today, whereby we're talking about partnerships and how do you bring in people around. So for example, for instance, this conference whereby we have different key players, we're here to discuss how can we move forward together. I think even on our own, we must continue with these events, as well as take out the key elements that we've learned and actually implement them and be able to track them to see if they're actually working. So that's one of the parts that we have been able to mitigate to try to reduce the gap, the inclusion gap. And I think in terms of some of the technologies that we've actually deployed in our communities, for them as well to be able to access information, even though they have some they lack the infrastructure or the resources, would be a keyword-based chatbot, whereby we try to now disseminate information to different areas of people. So I've been able to reach people in the rural area, for example, in Bolero, Rumi, as well as people far as well as Karonga, where maybe when we're implementing, we just focus on people in town. But if you work with the private sector, for example, the hubs a lot, that are doing an amazing job, whereby they go into the rural side and work with the people that side. So you might find that maybe people in this room don't have the access to these people. We are here talking about, we want to reach people in the rural side, we want to reach people in the localities, but then how do you reach them? And there are already people that have experience, for example, the hubs, some people, elements in the government, for example, the district's youth office, they have access to those people, and I think it's a matter of us partnering up and making sure that we have proper sustainability. So the topic of sustainability of partnership tackles us being able to sustain what we've developed. So for example, you might have the infrastructure, you might have the resources, but you go to a place, you implement, you leave. What impact, you have done the impact, yes, but then how are you going to continue it? So one of the things that I've actually worked with and has actually made our programming well, and as well as our projects, is making partnerships in the rural side that we call them our remote hubs, or we call them host partner organizations, whereby we go there, we give them resources, we give them infrastructure, we build their capacity, but we also leverage on their existence in the communities, but also we make sure that at the end, once we leave, they're still able to implement and we're able to create a proper sustenance. So I think in a nutshell, I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, looking at the fact that many of these technologies, the AI technologies, are being developed by big tech companies, Meta and others in the developed world. Does that not put us as Malawi or as Africans at a disadvantage globally. Mr. Mbegean, what are your thoughts?
An interesting question. There was a discussion around that here yesterday. That Facebook is taking your data and you use Chrome browser and it's taking snapshots of your activity. I think Loisi Boris is he around? Yeah, did talk a lot, managed to scare a lot of us yesterday, but I think there are enough caveats, if I may say. If you are in the technology space, you should know which technology is safe to use and which technology is not safe to use. We cannot make everything ourselves. I mean, we drive Toyota or Mercedes-Benz, which is manufactured in Europe and Japan. We use a fridge that's made in Germany, and the carpet is woven in China, and your shoes are made in Italy. What's our national advantage? Are we cut to make software, and is that software really going to sell? How much are you going to invest, develop our own operating system to be using? Are they going to be given the compatibility rights to the rest of the world? I think those are the things that we must be willing to begin to consider before making careless investments and say we're going to make our own software. Yes, from a profit perspective, whoever is making the software makes the money, obviously. That's why they're into that business. So Google and Facebook will make the money. But I think we need to understand that we cannot make everything ourselves.
Yeah, because Mr. Mbegean, for me, I'm looking at what Professor Wallace was talking about the Internet of Things, for example. Assume that we adopt such type of technology. Wouldn't that be a threat to our sovereignty? Somebody in New York or Silicon Valley somewhere is controlling everything here in Malawi. What would that picture or situation be to our national sovereignty?
Are they really? Okay, I can invite people from the audience who can help me answer this question. But the question I always ask is, are we not just paranoid? Okay? Are we really not just paranoid? Are they really controlling? We've seen what the antitrust law did to Microsoft when they told them to disbundle Internet Explorer from Microsoft operating system because they thought they had too much control. The same antitrust law has kicked in again on Google, on Metaverse, Alphabet rather, to relinquish ownership of Chrome browser because they're too strong. I think they're hitting them more on, is it Facebook? Not Facebook, Facebook is Zuckerberg, but something else. You know, they're hitting them more there, I think on YouTube or something like that, you know. So there are laws existing in the countries where these big tech companies operate. I think Google itself, if not Facebook, was slapped in the UK and I think in Ireland with massive non-competitive practices. So we need to trust that the laws in the countries where these organizations do exist, they have laws that can prevent them from being a terrorist company, if you like. So yes, we can get paranoid about it, but you know what, Dr. Wallace said, it's not going to stop. Very soon we'll stop buying physical servers because everything is going to the cloud. Whose cloud is it?
Yes.
You know, so, you know what, suck it. Let's learn to live with it. Let's find security around it. Let's protect ourselves in these environments. Thank you.
Mr. Karim, you are from the banking sector. Now, one of the biggest technological drives now is digital currency, cryptocurrency as they call it, bitcoins and the like. Is it a threat? Is it something that as a nation now we should begin to say this is the direction the globe is going, and probably start, you know, making laws and regulations around such type of monetary policies?
That's a tough one. All right, let's break it down. First of all, I don't think it's a threat. All right. And second, the crypto space, I'm not an expert on that particular part, but I think it's been around for quite a while. How many years? I don't know if there's anyone in that space. What, 10, 14 years? I don't know. So I don't see it threatening anyone soon. Maybe then let me take that and say, look, whilst that particular technology is there, there are still plenty of avenues that can be utilized. And I think it's actually relatively safe to experiment and see what can come out of it for us to benefit off of that for 2063, all right? For now, I think the one that's really growing faster than regulation, faster than every one of us here concerned, is still this AI, all right? So in retrospect, I would like to borrow something from the Malawi 2063 page, page 4. It simply says, get things done. All right. Yesterday, there was a census to say how many are 20 years and below in this room, and I think we didn't have any hands up. I think the people that are going to carry that, right, if we could print maybe some shirts that says get things done to give them the vision so that they can carry it. Crypto is one thing that they will be the ones that will to drive how it's going to be initiated in the future, to be honest. I don't think anyone here has even got a slight understanding of how crypto can be used today. All right? So I don't think it's a threat. But the ones that are going to use it are going to come up with some novel ways. Can I give an example of NFTs? Anyone here who's used NFTs or was aware of NFTs? Still nothing? Wow. You see? So NFT is still built on that same underlining technology, yet it picked up. It was nice for Instagram wherever it came from, but it never permeated to us. So I think we're okay, all right? So let's concentrate on the things that we need to understand them now because they're going too fast, and I think for that one we can leave it to the 20-year-olds to build for us for 2063.
Thank you, thank you. Now, Ms. Marwanda, there are some schools of thought which say that possibly as developing countries, we should not move too fast. We should not jump on the bandwagon too soon. We may need to be cautionary to look at what this technology is doing in the developed countries and maybe adopt progressively. You know, there are things that were spoken earlier on by the renowned professor, such as, you know, surveillances, you know, the potential threats of becoming a surveillance state. What is your take on this premise? Should we move slowly, cautiously, or we should just jump on the bandwagon and make sure that we are leading in the process?
All right, thank you. So I think to an extent we're already moving slowly. Because we're a bit limited with our infrastructure or resources. But in terms of us, if let's say we had all the resources, what would we do? We would obviously move fast. But without our own knowledge or without us willing to, we're moving slowly. So what I would say that right now is for us to actually have the mindset to catch up. We can't always say, oh no, we have to move slowly, let the other people lead. We can even take the leading role in implementing as well as creating awareness in our communities. So I would say there's no need for us to step back. We're already behind. We have to catch up, pull up our socks. We have to implement the policies we've been talking about. We have a lot of work to do, and we should put in more than 100% of work because we are lagging behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for this next section, I would like to engage the audience. And in doing so, I would like the assistance of Mr. Magawa Mkandawire, who is an independent green energy expert. Are you around? Yeah, please give him the mic. Ms. Bahati Piri from Lynch Systems. Yeah, thank you, madam. And Dr. Ted Nankumwa, who's the Chief Executive Officer for the Agriculture Commercial Company, Agricom. Yeah, so gentlemen and ladies, and the lady, would like you to assist in the audience engagement. And from the audience, one of the challenges that we are having with these new emerging technologies is that they are disassociating us from real life. We are being detached from society and glued to these technologies. Now, in terms of culture and moving forward, how do you think that is going to help or that is going to affect the nation in terms of the development of this country? So anybody from the audience? Yeah, maybe before we engage the audience, let me have that from the perspective of our three personnel who are helping us. Mr. Nkandawire?
Sorry, could you just repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, the emerging technologies, they are delinking us from reality. We are no longer a community where we are associating with one another, but rather we are relying on technology for emotional, social support. To the extent that there is new technology now, the new, like the humanoids, especially in countries like Japan and elsewhere where people are lonely, these are now becoming the companions of individuals. With such trends, what are your thoughts, and how should we as a country maybe look at such situations?
Thanks very much. I think where I'll start is I'll say 50 years ago or 70 years ago, people said the same thing about radio or about television. Technology will always disrupt society, and that's a good thing. So people 50 years ago worried our kids are watching too much TV, or they can get too many videotapes, they're not playing with their friends. But I think us people that grew up in the TV age or radio age, we grew up fine. So I think that there's a general fear of new technology. It has its advantages. Yes, there are also disadvantages. And I would say that things like children or young people disconnecting is something that should be solved more in the home, and that's a parental issue or a micro issue that should be solved at that level. But when you look at it on a holistic balance, on the grand scheme of things, technology and its ability to actually connect us is far more positive than maybe the social negatives, because now we can speak to people much further away. The internet is open to everybody. You have the global library to tap into. So when I look at it on the balance of the facts presented, it's not a major concern. I think the positives outweigh the negatives, and I will just put the onus on parents and other social leaders to handle that at a domestic level and have the responsibility when you're giving gadgets to young people, etc., that they should learn to use them responsibly. The same way that we did with radio, television, before there were smartphones, when we had dumb phones, etc., But I think, in summary, the positives far outweigh the negatives in terms of connectivity. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll start with something simple. What is 1,500 plus 900?
2-4.
What is 1,500 plus 900, in case you didn't hear me?
2,400.
All right, so remember, AI started with a calculator, right? As we learned yesterday. So, but as you can notice that now we are over-reliant on a calculator. Some of us here couldn't even answer 1,500 plus 900. Even if I say 500 plus 500, you might know the answer, but sometimes you end up still going to the calculator. Now, let's go to autocorrect. How many people know how to spell now? Everywhere we're using autocorrect. If I would ask you to spell something here, a lot of us wouldn't be able to spell. Some simple words, we won't be able to spell them. Why? We're always using autocorrect. Another topic, creativity, art. So where is it gonna go now? Now you can go to an AI tool, you just type some description and it's gonna design something for you. Even the people that used to generate simple things like logos, there's so many logo generators, free ones actually. So where is our creativity going to go? How are we going to be using our brain in 2063? This is something that we should be thinking about. Now, he touched on how we are now disassociating with society. Yes, these emerging technologies have the advantages, but now this segment, we should really talk about the potential risks. People in the developed countries, they're using VR. You have teens who are spending the whole day on a VR machine. Is that really a good thing? What about this is 2024. What about a person in 2063? What would they be doing? We are already over-reliant on a calculator, something simple like that, autocorrect, something simple like that. But now, what will happen to the human brain in 2063? Are we going to be thinking for ourselves? So now, we have just moved into technology, right? If something just happens to National Bank, I know a lot of people in here will be angry. This is 2024. In 2063, there will be more things happening that are reliant on technology. When one small thing happens, what is going to happen to the world? This is something we should think about.
Thank you very much for sharing that insight. Dr. Nankrumah, do you have anything to add? Maybe as we are talking about society and the disengagement from society, I also came across an article whereby now you go to a church service and there's AI, a robot which is preaching. So maybe Dr. Nankrumah, you could elaborate on that. Is it something that is acceptable that we can go to a church and be preached by a robot?
Well, I thought when you started talking about the church, you were coming to me. Obviously, I thought so. Dingoka in between them. If you eat nsima, too much of it, what will happen? Constipation, eh? So everything done in excess is a problem, but it does not mean we didn't see Masiabwin. So I'm just responding to my sister that side. Technology is important. We must embrace it, as my brother has said. There are things that we need to manage, obviously, but we shouldn't exaggerate the threat just because we fail to manage it. I am not a technology guy, but I think I was listening to what my brother Webster was saying in terms of interventions that comes to moderate things, and that's what we need. But let's look at the realities of the global state today. Let me go back to my field. Population growth rate expanding so fast, and we need to feed this population. In the morning, sister, I think Tandy, I don't know whether she's left, she talked about technologies. These are precision technologies. that have come to create efficiency. That helping us to feed the nation. If we don't do that, then we find that we are struggling with things that we need to be solving. God gave us the brains to also be thinking, but we need to manage the way we use the brain, not to become excessive in our creation. So I want to say that I've been to China. For the first time I witnessed a robot waiter, and I got concerned because that is now displacement, a robot taking up the job of a human being, right? Probably in China they can do that because maybe they are at that stage. If you bring that technology to a country like Malawi, then I think you're not smart enough, because we have a lot of unemployed people that need to be hired. So when we're using technologies, obviously you are balancing. You want to be highly productive, but at the same time, as the conclusion of my professor, where is Professor Chigona? Yeah, he concluded well. He said, leaving no one behind. So we don't want the technologies that we embrace bring disadvantages to other people. So it is a balancing act in my view. So we don't need to be scared. We need to manage the risks that come, but at the same time embrace the technologies, because we live in a global village. That's the way I would respond to that question.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience who would want to add value to what has been spoken by the three? Yes, can I have the gentleman here? Maybe you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Prof. My name is Kondwani Mtalemanja. I work for IAS. What I wanted to share basically is just a personal experience. And I want to agree with those that are saying we should not get too scared, because even if we get too scared, change is here. And we all know the only constant is change. So whether we like it or not, things will continue to change, but we need to find ways of how we can adapt. I have a job which is about remote working, and I call my job a COVID job. If there was no COVID, I was not going to get this job. But it's a job that basically answers what we are all talking about, because without the art of remote working, where I'm able to use the internet and few other tools, then I would not have been able to get a job. But the job that I do controls a lot of things that could bring down an organization. So what do I do in that space? I need to be responsible. I need to have the right defenses. I need to have the right set of mind. And like somebody else said earlier on, the human being is the weakest point within our cybersecurity or security framework. So we need to take measures. We need to be mindful and know that there are these risks. Just because there are risks, we can't stop using what we're using. And I always like this phrase, life is hard, but because life is hard, we don't stop existing. We still exist, but we find ways of how we can deal with the hardships that come with life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to react to Ms. Piri. She referred to the use of a calculator. And she said that it took away some of our abilities. So if you look at that picture, now you're showing me. If you look at that picture and you zoom it, by the end of the day, it's just numbers. You zoom it, there will be just numbers, zeros and ones, or numbers in any configuration. Do we really need to understand what those numbers are? All we want is the information that is there. So, come to think of a calculator. Some of us who went to school before calculators were using logbooks. How many of you remember the logbooks? If you were an engineer at that time, it was really tedious for you to solve any meaningful problem, because you had to refer to those mantissa and whatever. I'm forgetting the mathematics. In short, what I'm saying is, this technology will not take away our capability to think, to be creative. In fact, it will empower us to do better things, because we'll be looking at bigger things than the tedious little chores that we are doing at the moment. Let's embrace them. Please, colleagues, let's embrace the technologies for better Malawi. Thank you.
Can I please respond? No, can I please Okay, I think people have misunderstood what I was trying to say. The risk is over-reliance. So I use a calculator so that we can all be on the same page because we all use a calculator. I can't imagine that we shouldn't be using a calculator. That doesn't even make sense right now. But I just wanted to highlight that there are simple things that we use every day, such as autocorrect. And some of us won't be able to spell if we don't have autocorrect. Some of us won't be able to do basic math if we don't have a calculator. So, is over-reliance a future risk? That's the point I was trying to make.
Let's hear from Mr. Karim.
Thanks. Maybe you would want to weigh in. Yes, absolutely. Consider me an optimistic in this room. I would have loved if it was more risks and opportunities, because I have gravitated towards opportunities more. Software engineers in here? Yes, software engineers? How long will it take you to develop a copy of Facebook without Copilot on your own, or an operating system? Let me throw it out there. How long will it take you to write your own operating system that can take down, I don't know, Linux or Microsoft Windows? How many days? Hours? Years? Decades? You'll probably give up after 5 days, right? AI has come at a very interesting time. 2063, as I said before, I've borrowed that get things done statement that came in there, because when they looked at how we failed, they said, you know, let's just simplify things, just get things done. Someone wants to come in here and they want an application, get it done. Someone wants to apply for a service, get it done. All the applications that we're seeing nowadays, water bills, mobile money, everything is to get things done. To translate that to a youth that at the moment the literacy levels are so distant, the challenges are going to be more complex. Someone who is passionate about software wants to make change, but they don't have maybe just that level of technical expertise to get there, but they've got the idea. When AI is utilized for them, it can speed up the process for them to realize the potential that they could have given. Someone else can pick it up there. But in other words, we're now moving faster. What I want to look at this is 2063 can be achieved even in the half the time. Right? It's what, 39 years, 40 years? Even in half the time, we should be able to reach some of those milestones quickly because AI is here. Let's utilize it for that. By the time we start saying, well, Microsoft is about to switch off the taps because they are now engaging in, I don't know, that country and our country, we're no longer in talking terms. This is a time for those developers to say, okay, fine, let's use AI to help us write down an operating system. That empowerment is going to be critical for us to get somewhere. So I'd just like to iterate on that. Whilst it's here, let's get things done. I'm not saying we should sideline the risks, but guys, let's sleep at 9 o'clock instead of at 3 a.m. and still deliver something. Thank you.
No, thanks very much for that input. I think it's very clear that we need to use this technology, but to what limit? I think that's the question that has been asked here. I gave an example of attending a church service with an AI pastor. There could also be another example. We are having difficulties in our economy as a country, and much of it, without hiding, it's attributed to bad leadership. Now, there could be a possibility in the future where you have a ballot box, or on the ballot paper, you have an AI as a presidential candidate. Do we see this happening? I think it could be a reality. Yes, sir. Maybe you want to add in.
Yeah, not specifically on your comment there, but just agreeing that there's a lot of evolution going on with AI, and we have to accept it. What we have to do is to make sure that we there is this word future-proof. I don't know if that exists or not. I don't think it's possible, but we have to try anyway. But the point I wanted to say is when I look at the presentations that I've seen, you know, emerging technologies, this costs a lot of money. When I look at, when I was bringing this young man into FDH, Ershad here, I had a budget for whatever I'm supposed to pay him. And he came to his boss and gave him a number. And the boss came to me and said, hey, I want this boy, but it's costing me. And in the end, we got him. He's not even a machine. It's a human being. When we talk about investment, most of the times, we always think machines, the cloud, the what. But the actual talent itself also, it costs a lot of money. I've got people here in this conference who are attending, brilliant young men, whom we've invested. Now, what am I trying to say? Then you've got the issue of the investment in the machines. The policy must align with some of these things. If we are to actually move ahead, and for government entities and private sector, the private sector to invest and spend the money that is required, then the policy must make sense as well. A recent example would be, in the morning, I think it was the Assistant Commissioner, Kumwembe, was talking about you need to take personal responsibility for your security. Someone gets tricked into giving out their details over the phone by the Airtel guys from, okay, let me not say Airtel, by the guys from Zomba, and they lose money. What do? They go sue. They go and claim to either to whichever, whether it's the telco or the bank. And then in the end, when this happens, a ruling is done and it says that financial institution must reimburse this person. Is this guy going to be responsible next time for their security? No. So that education and investment in the judiciary must also happen. Then there's that investment in policy as well. That must happen. A good example is what happens in the financial sector. You get a regulator, as financial services, we invest a lot in developing these digital technologies that we now take for granted. It's an 18%, but it's an 18% that absolutely relies on this. And then the regulator tells you how much you can price. They tell you, no, you can't increase this. Or under financial inclusion, I don't know what that means when they discussing amongst themselves, as if financial inclusion is for free. They tell you that you can't, this has to be free. And they write to you, this is a whole list of things that must be for free. Next time you go to your investors, to your board, and then they tell you what is the return. Are you going to be able to get that money to invest? So there is need for alignment. If we are going to achieve these emerging technologies, get to 2063, there is need for that alignment. Don't be emotional about making decisions. Let's be objective. Let's accept that investing in humans costs a lot of money. Investing in technology costs a lot of money. Investing in IT infrastructure costs a lot of money. And once we fully are objective about that, then let's make the right policies so that it supports that investment and we get to 2063 to where we want to get to. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to weigh in?
Here? Okay. All right. From me, I want to first and foremost echo the sentiments which were stated by Peter briefly in the morning when it comes to the risks or which come with using AI, and to also bring a question to Ershad. He mentioned that the AI, he's a data lover and he consumes a lot of data. But then of recent, AI has come with the risk of data poisoning or model tampering, in the sense that based off of what we feed the models, we can get inaccurate information out of the models. So Eshard mentioned that there's an importance of having accurate data or accuracy when we're collecting data for building our large language models. So I really wanted to know, how are these data poisoning risks addressed? Because what threat actors are doing these days is they will just tamper that data either before you ingest it, so they will put a lot of false information in your data source. So if your data source, let's say, is Twitter, for instance, earlier this year, Elon Musk put a mitigative measure on Twitter on the number of tweets which could be loaded. A lot of people got annoyed, but they were putting some mitigative measures as they knew that someone was poisoning Twitter with data. The amount of tweets you could post in a day, for a certain number of days, those controls were put on Twitter because they knew they were being poisoned, and the data on Twitter was being used to feed certain large language models. So data poisoning is one of the biggest risks which AI models are being faced. So from a corporate perspective, the data you're ingesting, how are you cleaning it? And to also speak on to the points raised by on AI basically thinks as humans do, in the sense that it did not reinvent the wheel of decision making. Years ago, there was a military strategist, John Boyd. I bet the military personnel know of him, who invented the order loop, where he mentioned that in decision making, everyone observes, they orient, they decide, and then they act upon it. AI acts in the same way. It observes, it orients, it decides, and then it acts onto whatever data has been presented. And even not only generative AI, even responsive AI, as mentioned by Peter in the morning, the likes of the dark traces in cybersecurity. All these AI models, they think as human beings do. Yeah, they think as human beings do, and they act based off of human actions. Thus, human beings can or cannot be replaced in the decision-making cycle as we model these based off of ourselves. So yes, I will hand this over back to Eshard.
Thank you. So I would like to wrap up, and in our wrap up, can we ask Mr. Kandawire to give in your concluding remarks?
Thank you very much. I think it's been a very interesting 2 days, but there was a question first.
Can I answer the question? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Will you answer the question?
No, in his conclusion, he will answer it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much. It's been 2 interesting days of a lot of perspectives, highlighting first and foremost the opportunities that are available to us using technology, using AI, but also the risks to our security, our infrastructure, and our economy. But for me, my concluding remarks are generally that the positives far outweigh the risks. Any new technology, any new systems need to be handled from a point of not ignorance, but competence. So it's very important that the human capital development is there so that we can handle these technologies and further these technologies with the competence that we need to use them most effectively, most productively, most efficiently, with the least amount of risk. Malawi does not exist in a vacuum. Everybody is moving forward. You can't be left behind. You need to sprint when our friends are jogging so that we can catch up, and we need to keep sprinting. Technologies, simple technologies like M-Pesa in East Africa have shown that African technologists, data scientists, engineers have a global presence and a global role to play in technology, in the cyberspace. It's not about waiting for something to come from Silicon Valley and ingesting it. It's our role, it's our responsibility, it's our duty towards 2063 to make sure that we are valuable, functioning, competent, efficient users of this technology, because this is the way the world is going and we shouldn't be left behind.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Piri?
All right, so we learned a lot through these past days, but what I want to say is AI is amazing. It's helping us, a lot of people, because as Isha was saying about developer, I'm actually a software developer myself. So contrary to the topic that I wanted to speak about, because it was a risk, it seems like I'm not a tech enthusiast. No, I actually am. I love AI. But here, I really wanted us to focus so much on the potential risks. So my concluding remark would be, as we're ending this, maybe we can create more spaces where we actually discuss these risks in further detail and actually come up with solutions. We've said so much, but I don't know about the solution side. So my conclusion is, let's talk further and discuss how we can actually mitigate these risks. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Nankumwa?
Yeah, thank you. I've really benefited. I'm not an AI guy or technology savvy person, but at least I'm a user. I've learned a lot, especially the two presentations, I think one in the morning and the last one. I think the one by Professor Kanjo, is it Kanjo? Yes, and the last presenter. The potential that the country has, but also the risks that we have. The risks, especially if we don't play a quick catch-up game. Because I know that to maximize the technology gains, we need more investments. Not only in infrastructure, but also the human resource that we need. Now, when I look at the public schools, for example, our LEA, is it LEA? LEA and full primary school. What are the things that we are investing vis-a-vis compared to what the same level of students, same age, are getting from private schools and what others are getting outside Malawi. Yet we live in the global village. Do we think we are producing people that will be competitive at global scale? So that's my worry. Now, what would that create if we don't do the right investments? It means the marginal output of our children would be lower. And obviously, I think somebody said they took a study and found that there are a lot of Nigerians getting a job. I think that was in the morning. Just because they are more competent than most of the African students, because probably the difference comes in the investments that we are done in those students. Now, if we lag behind, obviously that creates inequality. Inequality at country level, because there is differences in terms of investments in the public versus the private schools. But even at regional level, because other countries are investing more in science and technologies, and we are lagging behind. Now, we'll be competing for the same market. In terms of production, we'll be less productive, and we are already low in our technologies, less productive, and others are more productive. And that creates even more imbalances when you look at the trade balances, because we can't compete at the global scale. That increases levels of inequalities. So it leaves the country more vulnerable if we can't take this discussion that we started more seriously. I think when Mpinganyira talked about the policy, the guiding policy, if that is not available, then I think what we are doing here probably might not be as fruitful in the end. So, but this is an important discussion that we've started. How do we case it to continue with it that now it leads to more decisive things like investments that we need as a country. So I think this is a beginning, but I think we should be thinking how do we take this discussion forward to make sure that we are also ready to compete at the global scale. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nankumwa. Now to my distinguished panel, your concluding remarks. Should we be afraid of AI? Will it take over the globe? Let's start with Madam Malwanda.
My closing remarks would be around we shouldn't be afraid, we should adopt. But also in the adaptation, we should now focus on the people, because if you were hearing the discussion around, I think much of it goes around the people, whether we're going to leverage the technology, whether we're going to adopt it, whether they're high risks, they are all revolving around the people. So what we should also think about as we are making budgets for technology, we're developing new technologies, where do we place the people in this discussion from the leadership position, whereby the people who make the decisions or make the rules or the policies, as well as the people that are going to implement and actually use these technologies, where are we placing them, and also what context is it all going to work together for it to actually work out in the end. So the risks are there. I actually agree with what he was saying. The risks are there, but in the positive side outweighs the negative side. So let's go ahead, adopt it, and we will achieve our goal at the end, and we're also going to be on the map, and we're going to increase the livelihood. Another part, I think it's putting value in the tech for people to actually adopt it. So what value are you bringing in to all groups of people, whether the leaders or even someone who is a farmer in the village or someone who's a taxi driver? When you're going to talk about technology to them, what value do you place on the technology that they're going to use? Not everyone can be tech savvy, yes. There are people that are actually into, say, vocational skills. How do you bring in the topic of technology to them and ensure that they're also protected at the end? So I think having a proper ecosystem whereby we are using the skills that we have, whether it's farming or any skills that we implement, we have the talk of technology and we make emphasis on the value it's going to bring to the people's livelihoods, first and foremost, and to the Malawi's economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Karim, your concluding remarks.
All right, thanks. Allow me to finish my concluding remarks with a prediction or a challenge, depending on who's going to see this. But first I'll start with answering Mr. Milazi's question on data poisoning. All right. Now, maybe just a disclaimer. I think there was a comment yesterday that we always say is we in the future, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Can I just start saying that we are doing everything I've spoken about is being currently done, all right? In our organization, we're doing this. Now, Mr. Minazo, on the risks of poisoning, remember the three things I spoke about: data, strategy, and value? So I'll start with strategy. We understand the models that are there. I mean, we all know the big ones, ChatGPT, what else? Llama, I don't know. All those other ones. So there's quite a lot. We understand what the models can and cannot do and how much of, maybe they might help, maybe they're too overpowered and so on. So our strategy, we demarcate the ones that we want for a particular solution. I'll resonate what Mr. Williams said: emotion should not drive us, all right? Let's objectively approach these models that we want. Let's not get a model or an AI because it's an exciting thing. We're getting an AI, I think people are looking at, let's get an AI and find a problem that it can solve. Let's do it the other way around. Let's find the problems that we know we want and then identify the AIs that are going to play a role in fixing that. All right? That's on the strategy part. So it's important because as we said, it's expensive. Now on the data cleaning part, unfortunately I cannot share, that's proprietary. So sorry about that. But on the value, I think you can already see how that translates to value for either our customers or the general public or whoever. As long as you put those particular items in place, the value does come out. Now let me finish with prediction. I want to put a prediction here. In 5 years, remember the gap that we talked about in terms of literacy levels, right? The youth not finishing high school, not finishing secondary school, they are out there, they're looking for work, nothing much they can do. They cannot use, say for example, financial advice, maybe it's a bit difficult there. I would like to predict that in 5 years, there's going to be an app, all right, and this is how it's going to work. So you're getting this advice for free, all right? Someone who has a grocery doesn't read and write, but they can speak. They're running a grocery, they're going to call up a number and say, Leronda Gurisa, ma biscuit foro, kamba mwili, ma sweet atatu, all right? And it's going to come back and say, in their vernacular, forgive my chichewa, how much the revenue is, how much in verbal language, yes? It's going to talk to them. And they can talk to this as if it was a person every single day. That is my prediction. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mbekean.
Thank you. In concluding, whether we like it or not, the narrative has changed. It's not changing. It has changed. And it will continue to change. Let's not be afraid. Technology, there are people behind technology. There are people that bring about these technologies we're talking about. There are people that are continually creating new AI tools and so on and so forth, both good and bad. There are people behind technologies. You and me are also behind some crafting of technologies because of the stuff that we put on the internet. People know that there are things that are required. Technology is uncomfortable because it's change. It's always going to be disruptive. We better start getting used to being disrupted. We're talking of self-driving cars. It looked like a dream. They're here. We thought electric cars would never come to Malawi. They're here. These self-driving cars will also come here. We have cars now in Malawi that cannot cross the yellow line on the right if you program it, on the left, and the white line on the right, unless you indicate. The VW Touareg does that. It's here. Technology is here, and it's here to stay. What we can do is change our mindset and accept and begin to use it and begin to become advocates of this change so that we can prepare the generations behind us not to be resistant, but to be receptive and to embrace technology and move forward. Because if we don't, we'll be overtaken. If we don't, people will come here to become doctors because new technologies have come that current doctors cannot use because they were busy being resistant. And we will become obsolete. Technology is not waiting for anybody. Technology is here, it's here to stay, and it's a wave, it's a revolution. Let's ride on this wave and make the most out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, in conclusion, I think it's clear that AI is here to stay. It's disruptive, and there are things that maybe we have to accept, and probably other things we have to be cautious. And that reminds me, I always warn my good brother Wisdom that when this technology comes, please don't replace your wife with a humanoid AI. I think we have agreed. Thank you.
I wonder if that was a crystal ball. Another round of applause for Dr. Kwapata. Thank you so very much to the entire panel. Please, Dr. Nakuma, Mgawa, would you please come up front? Miss Piri, at least I've got two ladies in that photograph, better. Yes, Secretariat, please assist with those bags as well. Some beautiful photograph, much better than the male-dominated ones we had yesterday. We are getting very close to the end. Yes, Mgawa, if you could quickly come up front. How come I'm not seeing my flash? Oh, but Jambula say flash, okay? AI. Beautiful. Brigadier General, you can then proceed to do the honors. When you're done with that, I will request that you don't leave the stage, because now you will need to take us briefly through key takeaways as we await for the very final closing formalities. So, Dr. Akwabata, looks like there is a cup in there, but it is not for drinking Fanta. I thought I needed it. Thank you so very much. Professor Kwali is going to give us very quickly some key takeaways as captured by Secretariat, and then we are going to get into the closing formalities. Okay, thank you so much.
Let me start by thanking each one of us, distinguished speakers, esteemed participants, ladies and gentlemen. You've sacrificed your time to be with us here since yesterday. We don't take your presence here for granted. I don't want to attempt to wrap up whatever we've been discussing, because it's been voluminous. It cannot be done in 48 hours. But let me just try to capture the highlights of what has been said and discussed, and even the questions that were posed at this symposium. So our symposium on technology, security and development, problems and prospects, reminded us of the critical role that each one of us plays in shaping the future of our country. The central question that we had at this symposium was how can we harness emerging technologies to achieve Malawi Vision 2063? Throughout this event, we have engaged in a thought-provoking discussions and explored innovative solutions to some of the most pressing challenges facing our country. The discussions, you agree with me, distinguished participants, have provided us with a deeper understanding of the opportunities ahead and highlighted the hurdles we must overcome to create a prosperous and secure future for all Malawians. Just to give you a summary of the discussions. Tech, may you please assist me to beam the paper? So technology has brought with it a trilemma, raising moral, legal, and ethical concerns. We just heard from Dr. Teddy Nankuma advising us that the double-edged sword posed by artificial intelligence requires a balancing act to manage risks. Malawi, at the same time, is playing catch-up in the technology space. Further, innovations have been installed have actually stalled in Malawi due to a lack of data that is specific to the needs of the population in the country. Emerging technologies are bringing new risks and exacerbate inequalities. Although more people in Malawi are becoming dependent on technology, Ms. Emeida Kandiero Subuni noted that poverty and high cost of digital devices limit their use of and access to technology. At the same time, the digital space is evolving faster than our laws. Hence, the need to move equally faster to fix the lacuna to ensure equitable and responsible use of technology. However, Mr. William Pinganjira noted that Malawi is not in short supply of policies and strategies, but their execution. Generally, the discussions have been clear and compelling. For example, you see, we've noted that technology is a driver of development. We have also seen how emerging technologies are not just tools, but powerful enablers of progress. Technology is at the heart of Malawi's development trajectory, from digital agriculture that can revolutionize our farming sector to telemedicine and health tech that can dramatically improve healthcare access. Yet, as we embrace innovation, we must ensure that it serves the needs of all citizens, particularly the marginalized, ensuring an inclusive approach that leaves no one behind. The imperative of cybersecurity. In today's interconnected world, the security of our data, systems, and citizens must be paramount. Cybersecurity is no longer just an IT concern. It is a national security and development issue. In agreement with Mr. Loiso Boyce, Brigadier General Kalino demonstrated how and why we must protect our digital infrastructure from evolving threats and build resilience in our institutions. The General underscored the importance of collaboration in building capacity for cybersecurity. As noted by the Director General of MACRA, Mr. Daud Suleiman, yesterday, a stable cybersecurity platform and a robust cybersecurity strategy are essential to safeguarding our developmental gains, ensuring that we harness the full potential of technology without compromising the safety and privacy of our citizens. Collaboration for a secure and innovative future. In Malawi, digital transformation is gaining the momentum, hence the need to foster collaboration to achieve a unified front against cyber threats. All the speakers agreed that as we move forward, it is clear that no single sector, whether public, private, or academic, can achieve the ambitious goals of 2063 Malawi alone. The future of Malawi lies in strong collaborative partnerships. One theme that reverberated in all sessions is that we must build synergies between government agencies, private enterprises, and academic institutions to accelerate developing and deploying the technologies we need to realize our aspirations. The collaboration facilitated by this symposium is just the beginning, and it should not be the end. We also looked at the promise and perils of artificial intelligence, and we heard Dr. Candida Nankuma, where her panel showed that the conversation around AI have underscored the tremendous potential of these technologies, but also the ethical dilemmas they present. The key is not just adopting artificial intelligence, but doing so responsibly, ensuring transparency, accountability, and fairness in its use. While Mr. Webster and Bekeani dismissed the paranoia of importing technological platforms, Brigadier General Kachala cautioned that the lack of homegrown artificial intelligence platforms and dependence on foreign solutions undermines the sovereignty of the country. On her part, Mrs. Tandi Mvundula was candid that we must not abuse nor misuse the social media, but use it productively. As we develop AI systems for agriculture, security, health care, and governance, we must remain vigilant in preventing misuse and ensuring that these technologies contribute to the common good. Professor Adamson Mula, Dr. Kingdom Kwapata, and Dr. Tabi Chilongo gave us numerous examples of how we can effectively use emerging technologies in the health and agricultural sectors. The three scholars highlighted the importance of predictive analytics to foresee outbreak of diseases and whether to provide early warnings in the healthcare and agricultural sectors. Commissioner Barbara Tsiga and David Kumwenda underscored the importance of artificial intelligence in gathering and analyzing evidence for law enforcement and governance. On the subject of anticipating future risks and preparing for disruption, Mr. Clarence Gama advised that as we embrace new technologies, we must also prepare for inevitable disruptions that come with them. Professor Wallace Chagona demonstrated that automation, digital currencies, and the rise of the digital economy will reshape the workforce and the global economy in ways we can only begin to imagine. To mitigate risks, Professor Chagona advised on building capacity to prevent, detect, respond, and recover factors which evidences maturity of cybersecurity. In agreement with Dr. Rachel Sivande, Ms. Tusaiwa Sikwese reiterated that we must invest in education and skills development to ensure that Malawians are equipped to thrive in a digital future. The Director General of MACRA also advised that we must proactively identify risks and create regulatory frameworks that ensure the benefits of these technologies are shared widely while minimizing potential harms. On the aspect of securing the future of digital transformation, looking ahead, Professor Michael Zimba advised us that securing the future of Malawi's digital transformation will require not only the right policies, but also the right infrastructure. From broadband networks to data centers, we need to build a resilient and scalable digital ecosystem supporting future technological advancement. Mr. Tisunge Mipando lamented the dire need for basic gadgets, mostly for the 80% Malawians who live in rural areas, which stifles their possibility to access smart technologies. In their respective interventions, Professor Chipo Kanjo and Dr. Bridget Malewezi made a clarion call that we must ensure that every Malawian has access to the tools and skills required to participate fully in the digital economy. The key takeaways from this symposium are several. As you know, that the discussions generated voluminous solutions, but also raised copious questions. For example, Mrs. Pamela Kuwali yesterday asked how we can leverage AI to enhance preparation, response, and resilience to weather-related emergencies. Another lingering question that has been posed at this symposium is how can we embrace digital literacy in light of the high illiteracy rate in the country? All in all, the key takeaways from the discussions include, number one, technology as a development driver. To achieve Malawi 2063, Malawi must strategically leverage technology in sectors such as agriculture, health, education, and governance. Number two, to secure a digital environment, national security and prosperity depend on creating a secure digital landscape with policies that balance innovation and prevent misuse. Homegrown solutions are key to curb the vulnerability of the country arising from the dependency on foreign solutions and devices. Three, collaboration is essential. Effective technology integration requires strong partnerships between government, the private sector, academia, and the civil society. The private sector should invest in developing digital literacy and building capacity for developers. 4, inclusive and sustainable technology. Technological progress should benefit all citizens, especially marginalized groups, and be environmentally and socially sustainable. Number 5, strong policy and regulation. So robust regulatory frameworks are needed to manage the rapid pace of technological change and ensure ethical, secure use of technology for national development. Recommendations. 1, cybersecurity, national security and development. Cybersecurity should be regarded as part and parcel of national security. A robust cybersecurity framework is essential for protecting critical national data and infrastructure from growing threats. Building cyber resilience. Malawi must defend against cyber attacks and ensure rapid recovery to maintain national security. Cybersecurity capacity building. We need to invest in skills development across public institutions, businesses, and the workforce, which is key to mitigating risks and ensuring safe digital transformation. Public-private partnerships. Collaboration between the government, private sector, and academia is crucial to developing innovative cybersecurity technologies and policies that contribute towards the achievement of Malawi Vision 2063. 2, under the session on development decoded, leveraging technology to achieve Malawi 2063, there are basically 4 points. Number 1 is technology as a development catalyst. Emerging technologies like mobile solutions, smart agriculture, health tech, and digital infrastructure should address key developmental challenges in Malawi. Inclusive development. Technology must be used to ensure equitable access to digital tools and connectivity, especially for marginalized populations. Digital agriculture. Technologies such as precision farming and drones can enhance agricultural productivity and food security. 4, policy alignment with Malawi Vision 2063. Technology solutions must align with Malawi 2063 to foster economic growth, good governance, and social well-being. The 3rd recommendation under the session of health, wealth, innovation, and technology for inclusive growth, we captured 4 recommendations as well. Number 1 is that of health tech as an economic driver. So innovations like telemedicine and AI can improve rural healthcare access while contributing to economic growth. Tech-driven healthcare solutions. Technology should expand health service access, improve supply chains, and boost health outcomes, particularly for vulnerable populations. Inclusive growth. Affordable, accessible healthcare innovations can reduce inequalities between urban and rural areas. Cross-sector collaboration. Partnerships between the public and the private sectors are essential for integrating technology into healthcare systems and reaching undeserved populations. On the session under blind spot, use, misuse, and abuse of artificial intelligence, we noted that ethical AI technologies must be designed transparently, ensuring fairness, accountability, especially in areas like privacy and bias. The need to regulate AI use. Malawi must implement strong regulations to ensure artificial intelligence is responsibly used in sectors like healthcare and governance. The concept of AI for social good. Artificial intelligence can improve public service delivery, education, and fight corruption, but its risks must be carefully managed. Building trust in artificial intelligence. Public trust in artificial intelligence requires education, awareness, and accountability to ensure its benefits are widely accepted and used responsibly. Under the last but one session, Beyond Malawi 2063, Securing the Future of Digital Transformation, we noted that we need to future-proofing infrastructure. The country, to do this, the country must invest in scalable digital infrastructure, including broadband, cloud computing, and data security to support future technological growth. Malawi should invest in space and celestial platforms to capitalize on smart data, which is necessary to realize this development agenda. On digital literacy and skills, we noted that a well-trained workforce in emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain technologies, and cybersecurity is critical for a successful digital transformation. Sustainable digital governance. Technology policies should be socially inclusive and environmentally sustainable to prevent widening digital divides. Public-private synergy. Coordinated efforts between the government, tech companies, and academia will help align technological development with national priorities such as health, education, and security. On the last session, Crystal Ball, Emerging Technologies and Their Potential Future Risks, we noted that anticipating technological risks is key. While emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and Internet of Things offer great promise, they also pose risks such as cybersecurity threats and privacy concerns, which require proactive risk management. Data governance and privacy. Effective frameworks are needed to ensure data privacy, fair use, and secure handling of sensitive information. Resilience to disruption. Technological disruptions like automation and digital currencies may impact the workforce, requiring retraining and reskilling to avoid job displacement. Global cooperation. As technology becomes more global, Malawi must align with international standards to issues such as cybercrime, digital ethics, and artificial intelligence governance, while tailoring solutions to its local context. You'll see that the insights and ideas, as well as solutions discussed here, must be translated into concrete actions. And Ms. Tandi Mvundula poignantly posed a question: where do we move from here? She suggested that we need institutional structures where the responsibility should lie. Therefore, to harness technology towards the achievement of Malawi Vision 2063, we must at least take the following steps. As Professor Nyovani Madisa advised us, we need to invest in education and skills development to prepare future generations for the opportunities and challenges of the digital use. We need to promote education in digital literacy, cyber hygiene, e-safety, and development of smart technologies relevant to Malawi's development agenda. We heard from Councillor Kilias Mlenga, who advised us on the need for mindset change to embrace digital or mobile transactions. We also agree that we should strengthen our regulatory frameworks to ensure the ethical use of emerging technologies while safeguarding our security, and we also need to promote innovation and collaboration by creating an environment where the public, private, and academic sectors work together to harness the power of technology for national development. Ms. Bahati Piri was clear yesterday when she noted that the deposit of data for local needs stifles innovation for relevant solutions which are unique to the challenges faced by the population in Malawi. Hence, we need to publish data and make it easily accessible to innovators or developers who want to develop technologies for Malawians. The other step we need to take is to build homegrown digital infrastructure, as General Kachala advised, which is necessary for sustainable growth of our economy and equitable distribution of its benefits. Given our limited resources, Mr. Kondwani Ntalimanja tipped us on promoting digital literacy and how to use low-cost technology as a catalyst to support the delivery of Malawi 2063. Further, Ms. Florence Nkosi underscored the importance of implementing secure by design technologies. Lastly, we need to bring the youth on board as they are the owners of Malawi 2063. We heard from Mrs. Isabel Kumwembe Stewart, who emphasized on building and nurturing tech talent for youth. And we also heard Mr. Eshad Karim, who said we have to get things done. In conclusion, by and large, we need to shape a future where technology is not just a driver of economic growth, but a force for social inclusion, peace, and sustainability. The next steps are in our hands. If we join hands, we can leverage the full potential of emerging technologies to create a secure, prosperous, and inclusive Malawi, a Malawi that is fully aligned with this aspiration of Malawi Vision 2063. On our part, as the National Defense College of Malawi, we will soon be hosting a specialized professional course on national security and development to focus on developing strategies or practical steps to implement the recommendations from this symposium. We would like to build a community of practice of all-rounded defense and security experts who are able to connect the dots in leveraging technology to enhance security and achieve sustainable development in the country. Finally, I would like to thank all our speakers, participants, and partners for their invaluable contributions to this symposium. As Dr. Andrew Jamali said yesterday, let us now take what we have learned here and turn it into action. Thank you so much, and I would like to, and I'm actually looking forward to continued collaboration to build a brighter future for all Malawians. I thank you so much for your attention, and this draft summary will be circulated to all for your input. Thank you.
If this was AI, then it deserves a louder round of applause. I guess the Secretary did a very beautiful job capturing at least the back of that which was discussed here and giving us a good picture that probably this was not just like any other talk shows. We probably could be prospecting a future out of that which was discussed here. At this particular instance, I would want to recognize the presence of Deputy Defense Force Commander Lieutenant General George Alexander Jaff Jr. The work that you left us with yesterday is concluding at that particular point. And I did want to mention here, Lieutenant General, that we wanted, as you did yesterday, launch us here to send us out of here. I would like, at this particular moment, to invite you for your closing remarks. General.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies, and
Let me recognize Dr. Elia Siapazizu, Executive Director and founder of African Institute of Development Policy, Mr. Clarence Gama, Chief Executive Officer, Nico Technologies, Mr. William Mpinganjira, Group Chief Executive Officer, FDH Financial Holdings Limited, Brigadier General Professor Dan Kuwari, Commandant of the National Defense College, Malawi, all general officers here present, members of the executive management of MACRA, members of the Malawi Computer Emergency Response Team, all government officials here present, distinguished participants, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. As we near the conclusion of this significant symposium, I wish to pause and contemplate the profound discussions, invaluable insights, and spirit of collaboration that have characterized our time together. I personally observed the extensive and diverse dialogues that took place during this assembly. The words of Tim Berners-Lee, the pioneer of the World Wide Web, remains pertinent. Technology is a mere instrument, while individuals are the arbiters of how the instrument is wielded. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, throughout this gathering, we have underscored the pivotal role that emerging technologies can play in shaping the future of Malawi, from revolutionizing agriculture to transformative healthcare, agriculture and education. Innovations undoubtedly holds the key to unlocking sustainable development and enhancing national security. Yet, as we previously discussed, these opportunities must be accompanied by responsible actions. Albert Einstein was accurate in his observation when he stated, "It has become glaringly evident that our technology has surpassed our humanity. We must remain vigilant in ensuring the protection of our people, institutions, and sovereignty from the perils associated with rapid technological advancement." Collaboration among various sectors, governmental, private, academic, and civil society will be paramount as we strive to leverage the full potential of technology while mitigating its associated risks. Esteemed participants, the challenges we face are significant, yet the opportunities that lie ahead are equally immense. Let us remain vigilant of the proper use, misuse, and abuse of technology. As Winston Churchill cautioned us, the progression of technology in malicious hands has potential to become a weapon of mass destruction. But when wielded by the righteous, it can serve as an instrument for a more powerful world. It was heartening to observe a consistent theme across all presentations, emphasizing that in a society dominated by technology, safeguarding our data and our digital existence is no mere extravagance, but an imperative. Esteemed participants, we convened not simply to exchange ideas, but to establish the foundation of meaningful collaboration and actionable resolution. The policy recommendations, research findings, and partnerships we have cultivated in this symposium will serve as a vital cornerstones for the future of Malawi. We trust that the National Defense College will promptly produce the policy brief to assist in implementing the alley of regulations and statutes governing cyber space within the nation. As we depart from this gathering this afternoon, or this evening rather, let us bear in mind that we are not merely deliberating abstract concepts or theoretical solutions. We are shaping the destiny of Malawi, our own destiny. and that of future generations. We have taken to heart the counsel of experts at this symposium that technology should be a focal point of our national security strategy and development agenda. Even the former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon echoed this sentiment when he said, and I quote, "The future belongs to those who can leverage the power of technology to foster sustainable and inclusive development for all." End of quote. It is worth noting that the path of advancement is adorned with novel technologies, yet it must be safeguarded and all-encompassing for the expedition to be genuinely transformative. Every discourse, every partnership, and every stride forward brings us nearer to achieving the ambitious objectives outlined in Malawi 2063. In his words, Bill Gates, "Our tech task is not solely to innovate, but to ensure that innovation serves all individuals, is secure, and is utilized to nurture peace and prosperity." Themba Kalua established the precedent. If not at present, then at what juncture? If not you, then who? We are all visionaries of the future, molding and destiny with every choice we make. Bear in mind, we hesitate, we forfeit. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to express my heartfelt appreciation to all our esteemed speakers, panelists, and participants, some of whom have undertaken extensive journeys at their own expense. Our expertise, unwavering dedication, and steadfast commitment to the progress of Malawi development and security are undeniably remarkable. A special acknowledgement is extended to our collaborators, including the Malawi Communication Regulatory Authority, MACRA, Malawi SET, FDH, Financial Holdings Limited, AFIDEP, Nico Technologies, and all the entities that have contributed to the success of this event. Let us proceed with a revitalized sense of purpose and immediacy. Let us embrace innovation and technology as the drivers of transformation, while also recognizing that it is our collective duty to steer and regulate their utilization for the welfare of all Malawians. Once again, I express my gratitude for your dedication, your invariable contributions, and your unwavering commitment to the advancement and safeguarding of our nation. I extend my heartfelt wishes for a prosperous and fruitful journey ahead for each and every one of you. Thank you. Let us continue to collaborate efforts towards a more promising future for Malawi. Thank you very much for your attention. May God bless you all, and may God bless our nation. Thank you.
We are shaping the destiny for Malawi because we all are visionaries of the future of the country. And that's how Lieutenant General George Alex Jaffu closed the Technology, Security, and Development Problems and Prospects Symposium 2024. Another round of applause for Deputy Commander, and thank you so much to each one of you for being such a wonderful audience. Thanks have already been expressed to all the partners that made sure that we were here for the past 2 days. I think they've not been wasted days. They are days that have reshaped the visionaries of Malawi. And this is why at this particular moment I wouldn't do much, but probably to request Commissioner Tsiga for a word of prayer. Thank you so much.
Let us bow and pray. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we come before you this evening to say thank you for the beautiful 2 days that we just had. As we finalize our discussion, which we believe that with your guidance are going to help and assist Malawians to forge forward as we look towards 2063, we pray that you will be with every one of us as we travel back to our respective homes. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we have prayed. Amen.
Amen. And someone may fail to drive their Corolla. They left their key somewhere. So I'll leave it with Secretariat.
And finally, a big thank you to our MC, Mr. Wisdom Chingwede, please.